Hello Sagittarius, welcome to your weekly tarot reading here on Dove and Serpent Tarot. This is for the week of December 18th through 24th. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. Now we're just going to take a look at your general energies. What is it that you need to know? What's going on in your life? What is the main theme here? Well, we see a Hanged Man card jumping out of the deck. So we're going to start with that. It seems like that card really wants to be heard this week. Okay, so let's lay out the rest of our Dove and Serpent spread. Oh, I kind of like what I'm seeing already. Last week we had some pretty good energies for you. It looked like there were some challenges last week. But I think there was kind of a water theme last week, right? So we're kind of building on that, I think. With some of these water cards here, it really is looking pretty nice. We've got this mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. We're going to leave that right there until the very end. So stick around to the end of the video, and hopefully that will, tie the reading together or give us the confirmation that we're looking for at the very end. So, on the path of the dove, a lot of water going on here. The first card we had was that Hanged Man. The Hanged Man kind of jumped out of the deck as I was shuffling it. I think this is related to this, the water energy that we talked about in the last week's reading, okay, which was you trying to build a deeper meaning into your life, to find those emotional connections, to really find this kind of compassionate, empathic, loving interaction with people and connection with people, this watery expression of yourself and of your vibe, right? So we have this Hanged Man here at the very beginning. So I think this is kind of like, in some ways, you're pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. You might be doing things that are a little bit challenging to you, trying to connect with people in a way that you maybe normally would not. So you're kind of pushing the envelope a little bit. And I think that this is, in some ways, you're dipping your toe into that water, right? Into that water energy. And it may be making you a little bit uncomfortable. It may be a little bit of a challenge to you. It may be that you are having to kind of sacrifice your comfortability in a certain sense. You're going to have to go outside your comfort zone, like we're saying. But I think this is going to have really positive results, kind of stepping out of yourself, stepping out of the norm, out of your kind of habitual interactions or responses or the way that you typically relate to people. Because that's being crossed. This Hanged Man's being crossed by that Nine of Cups. So I think this is really going to be a fulfilling and joyful experience, even though at the beginning it might seem a little challenging, right? We're trying to reach out, trying to connect with other people in a way that we normally wouldn't, in a way that just makes us a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit of a challenge, right? And I think, looking at the rest of these cards, we don't see any of that fire energy that we saw in the last reading, right? There's literally no fire here at all. So I think it really is the week where you are channeling some of this fiery energy, this activity, this vitality, right? This excitement and enthusiasm, this eagerness, this will, this intention, this maybe creative spark. You're channeling that into your emotional body. So it's going to be more of a subtle relation to people. It's going to be something that's going to be giving you a lot of feeling, right? Rather than the intellectual knowledge. We see a little bit of the air here. So there is still that kind of reasoning, logical element to things. But I think it's going to be more of like relating to people on a heart level, right? Finding the meaning, finding the connection with the people around you, with your environment, with your new circumstances. I think that with the little bit of earth that we have, there are some practical steps, some practical things, some activities, right, that you will need to do to manifest some of this energy. But this is a very energetic reading today, right? This is a reading that has a lot of this water element to it. And I think that it really is focused on how you feel about things, right? I don't know if the major fight of your life right now is in your workplace or in your personal life, or if it is in your emotional body, if it's in the way that you feel about things. The lack of connection that maybe we've been experiencing lately, right? The lack of the emotional communication, the lack of that deeper meaning and deeper connection. Okay, but this week I definitely see this Hanged Man. This is kind of the focus. It's you're putting yourself into this rather uncomfortable position because you're pushing your boundaries, right? And I think it's going to lead to a lot of fulfillment, a lot of success. You're really striving for this fulfillment, this pleasure, this satisfaction, this deep connection and fulfillment, deeper meaning with life, with the people around you. Now, we're coming off of this Empress energy. This is in the recent past. So I think that, in the recent past, you had this kind of moment, and maybe it was, could have been after you watched the last reading. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back and watching another reading. If you're new here, welcome. But I also think in the recent past, there was a certain moment when you realized that you kind of wanted more. You wanted more from your connections with people. You wanted more from your experience of life, of living, of your environment, of the people around you. You wanted to find that deeper meaning, right? We had a lot of fire energy last week. Now, I don't know if you're a new viewer, I don't know if you experienced that in the last couple of weeks. This really intense fire, motivation, a lot of energy, a lot of activity, almost an impulsiveness or maybe an anxiety or a nervousness, right? And I think that was coming with this realization through this Empress energy that you really need more from people, from your relationships with people. And in order to get more, you're going to have to give more, right? It has to be reciprocating. It has to be balanced. It has to be a give and take, right? I think the more love and the more of our positive energy we put out into the world, the more the world's going to resonate with that, harmonize with that, and we're going to get that back, right? So I think there was a moment in the recent past where you realized that you needed more to life. Now, whether we're talking career or in your personal life or just life in general, I think there's a need for more connection, more meaning, more of this positive, loving water energy, okay? And I really think with this Hanged Man, it's like you're challenging yourself. You're going out there and you're trying, and even though it might be uncomfortable, and it might not have the immediate results that you're looking for, it will ultimately be of your benefit to try to extend yourself, to express more love, more positivity in your life. I think you're going to get that back. And especially with this Nine of Cups, this is going to be fulfillment and satisfaction on the physical plane, the mental plane, and the emotional plane, right? There are 3 levels of abundance here. And I think it's going to be a complete realized, manifested fulfillment of some of this water energy. A lot of this Hanged Man stuff, this kind of, you're dipping your toe into the unknown, kind of, right? You're going out on a limb, so to speak. I think it's really going to pay off. I think you're going to experience these positive benefits from that. Now, in the immediate future, we have kind of the stabilization of those positive benefits, kind of the manifestation, 6 of Cups. This is the balanced, harmonious, very kind of equal, very reciprocated affection, love, meaning, connection, okay? And the 6 here is all about balance, all about harmony. It's all about kind of mirroring the abundance that we feel on the inside, or that love, that water element that we feel inside, mirroring that or reflecting that into the external world, right? And then simultaneously, kind of the external world will harmonize with us, and we will experience that inwardly. So it's a very kind of balanced, a very reflective, a very as above, so below, as within, so without kind of thing. All right, so I really feel like this is a really good path here from the Empress to all this water energy. I think it is really showing, really just basically using that fiery energy that you maybe have experienced recently, and we've channeled that into all of this water, into this this activity that has the intention of making those connections, finding the deeper meaning, but is also challenging ourselves, pushing our own boundaries a little bit, right? Doing things that maybe we are a little afraid to do or a little uncomfortable doing, but we know that this is something that's good for us, like I don't know, like just going and being more social, or going and volunteering our time, or, if we have a little bit of that fiery anxiety, we may not really enjoy the social situations too much, but this is just dipping your toe in the water, right? Trying to extend a little bit of love and gratitude and this watery energy, and just seeing how the world responds to us, right? And I think, of course, with that Six of Cups, it's going to respond in a very positive way, right? A very satisfying way. Now, beneath the surface of all of this, we see this Queen of Pentacles or discs. Now, the queens are the watery element of the suit that they're in, right? So this is the water aspect of the earth. And we have all of this water here, right? With this, the whole kind of line of thinking that we were just talking about, or the line of feeling really, is manifested. It is something that needs to be channeled through and put to practical use on the physical plane, right? It's one thing to feel this way, to understand this, to have the kind of intuitive knowledge of this, but then it's another thing to really ground this water energy and really do some practical things to express that, right? And to feel that. So all of this watery energy is also, like I said, it's going to be something that you feel within, right? This love, this joy, this positivity. So that needs to be reflected in a practical manner in your own life. Self-care, treating yourself, being kind to yourself, right? And then also needs to be expressed in the external world in terms of your relationships with others, your experiences, your daily activities, that sort of thing. So it really needs to be grounded in the physical world. All of this as yet abstract or theoretical water energy needs to be grounded in some way, right? And I think that's your kind of motivation, is to maybe you understand all of this intellectually, which is why we see some of these air cards here. But putting it to a practical use, that's a different thing. And that's something that I think you understand, that those efforts need to be made in the physical world and the external world in order to bring some of this out of the abstract down to the concrete reality. Okay. The next card we see is at the top of the path of the dove, and this is the Five of Swords. I think this is, again, this is maybe a little bit of pessimism, right, with what we were just talking about, how you understand this intellectually, but, actually doing it and bringing it down to earth, manifesting it in the practical, external, environment, that's a whole other thing. And I think that you have a little bit of doubt about that, or a little bit of maybe reluctance, or maybe just this feeling that it's a little overwhelming. The thought of doing something that's uncomfortable, pushing ourselves a little bit, right? Especially when we know it's for the greater good, for our own greater good as well, It could be a little daunting. It could be a little bit stressful. It could cause some anxiety, which is what we see here with the Five of Swords. And again, I think this is, your intellectual understanding of all of this, but to be able to then bring it down to earth and manifest it, ground it, express it outwardly in practical activities is a whole other thing. And I think that's kind of where you're at. It's a little bit of stress, a little bit of apprehension perhaps, or a little bit of feeling like you're not really up to that kind of task yet. You know what I mean? But again, in the immediate future, we see some real positive benefits here. But I guess this is quite dependent upon your efforts to take care of this Queen of Cups Queen of Discs, and manifest this cup energy, right? So it's still as yet theoretical and abstract. We've got to bring it down and manifest that water energy. We're going to move over to the path of the Serpent now, because we see more of this water, more air, more earth. Again, there's really no fire here. So this is telling me a couple of things. One, that we did a pretty good job of channeling all of this energy, this activity, this spiritual fire, this motivation and passion. We've done a good job channeling that into the emotions and the understanding, and really, really getting a grip on some of this water energy. But now there may be a little bit of a lack of fire energy. Maybe we used up too much of it, that we need that little spark to get us motivated to then bring it down to that earth plane, right? So maybe this mystery card will be that little bit of fire that we need to bring everything down to the realm of discs, coins, pentacles, right? The earth realm. But anyway, we'll see what that's going to be. Your general energy here is this Princess of Cups. I think this is the beginning of this water connection, emotional connection, this finding of meaning in your life, right? In your relationships, in your situation. And this is the princess, right? So it's the kind of lowest level of the energy. It's the new energy. It's kind of still immature. It's just starting out, right? It's in its kind of infant stages. So I think this, again, is your general energy. I think you're starting to make these kinds of adjustments. You're starting to make these moves. You're getting, a little bit more ready to kind of push your own envelope, push your own boundaries a little bit, and, extend your boundaries, I should say, like expand your awareness, expand your the reach of your watery element, right? Your water energy. And your general energy, again, is just kind of, you're starting to take the first steps. And it's kind of that dipping your toe into the water kind of thing. And this is the practical side of that. I think this is a focus because the princesses are the earth element of the suit that they're in. Okay, so we have a nice kind of juxtaposition of these two, right? This is the water of the earth. This is the earth of the water. Okay, I think that's kind of neat. So with the Princess of Cups, this is really about finding those practical ways to express this water energy, this connection, this love, this meaning, this search for meaning, right? This desire for the deeper connections. And this is, the first try in some ways, right? You're focused on what you can do today, those little baby steps, to kind of get this whole thing rolling. Whereas with this one, it is almost the kind of end stage of that, right? This is the manifested earth realm that has that water element in it, that is already kind of fulfilled. So this is like the unconscious desire, the end goal, right? This is kind of the pinnacle of success here, is to have your external environment, your practical, physical life full of that water energy, full of that meaning. And this is, kind of the converse of that. This is taking all of that desire for meaning, that striving for connection, and taking those first initial steps to bring it down to the earth plane and to manifest it. Okay. Now, the next card is very interesting. This is why I was saying it's more of an expansive energy. This is the Fool card. This is pure air. Okay, so this is really, really expansive, really all-inclusive. It's like it's pushing that boundaries. It's expanding its sphere of influence, okay, your reach. So this is really, experimentation, trying new things, trying things that are going to make you a little bit uncomfortable, but you think it's going to be for your ultimate benefit, your greater growth, right? And the Fool is just kind of, a little bit carefree, a little bit not reckless, not careless, but not too concerned with being uncomfortable or being in this hanged man position, right? Which is pure water. This is pure air. So this is just going for it, not really thinking of the consequences, not overthinking it, let's say. Right? Not doing too much reflection, too much rational thought or logical processing, where then you get caught in the trap of these swords, which we'll get to another sword card in a minute, but particularly this Five of Swords, not to get caught in this kind of whirlwind of thinking and reasoning and self-doubt, and it just causes a delay in actually acting, right? This is the air that just expands and expands and expands and tries to collect as much experience as possible, tries to really fill the room, right? Fill the universe. It just keeps expanding outward. And this is, in some ways your experimentation. This is your testing of the waters, right? This is your beginning to accept all experiences that come your way and really having the intention of this water to make those deeper connections, to find the deeper meaning in the things that you're involved in, the events that you partake in, that happen to you or that you make happen, that you're a part of, right? And this is kind of indiscriminate. This is just pure expansiveness, right? This is similar to, a Jupiter energy, like a Wheel of Fortune, that is very expansive, but more in a seeking out the positive experiences only, kind of, right? And we can kind of contrast this with the Fool, who doesn't really judge the experiences, doesn't know, or maybe should know, but doesn't know whether an experience is positive or negative, good or bad. It doesn't place judgments like that on experience. It just has fun having experiences, right? It can find the joy, the meaning, the pleasure, the water element in any experience. And I don't want to harp on this too much, but I think that this is really important for you to know or to consider, maybe to start to form some awareness of that kind of an idea, right? Of just this kind of taking in as much as you can and not limiting yourself to only those experiences or events or activities that you're comfortable with, that you know are going to be positive, that you know are going to have the emotional benefit that you're looking for, right? It's kind of, you got to branch out a little bit, not limit yourself, right? Because that goes against the nature of the Fool. The Fool is not about restricting or limiting or putting restraints on anything. It's just about complete expansiveness and growth, right? The next card we see is kind of the position of your fears, worries, or concerns. I think this is maybe not something that you're consciously thinking of, but this is the Prince of Discs or Pentacles. Now, the princes are the air element of the suit that they're in. Okay, we're really kind of running the gamut with the court cards here today. So this is that earth element, right? The physical reality, the physical activities, your physical, existence. That is kind of, in some ways, locked up in this air element. I know it sounds a little bit backwards. But this, I think, is the practical life, your kind of daily living, your activities that are a little bit caught up with this 5, okay? And I think this is the air element that is just kind of keeping this earth prince, this court card, from fulfilling its duties, fulfilling its will, its nature, right? Which is to create, to build, to use the active part of itself to manifest things, right? To get things done, whatever the intention, whatever the will is. Its nature is to build and create. But I think there's a little bit too much of this air in there. And this is, again, with that restriction, it's kind of putting some limits and restricting the activity, the manifestation of these things on the physical plane. Too much thinking, right? Too much overthinking. And I think that's just the concern here, is that the earth, the manifestation here that we see with the earth elements and the water elements, the manifesting of that is at risk of being interrupted or thwarted or restricted by this overthinking kind of thing, right? This self-doubt. And then that's exactly what we see here with the Ten of Swords. Now, the Ten of Swords could be a couple of things. Could be a little positive, a little negative, right? On the negative side of it, this is really the complete just entanglement in these thoughts where no action is possible, right? This is this web of thought and logic and, rational inner discourse that really is preventing any kind of action. It's like a mental filibuster, right? On the other hand, this Ten of Swords is the idea of breaking out of that, right? Getting out of that kind of filibuster mode where you're just so much thinking, so much overanalyzing that there's no action taking place. Okay, so this is really about getting out of your head, breaking these habits, breaking this cycle of thinking that you're in. Okay, which is right in line with this 5, right? 5, 10, so doubling. So I think the 5 here runs the risk, has the potential. It could develop into this 10, which is this, again, complete filibuster, right? Lack of any kind of motion, inability to move at all. But maybe it's necessary to get to that stage so that you can break free, right? If you're kind of just right in the middle, then maybe the extreme isn't there. That's giving you the opportunity to kind of break out, right? When things reach their extreme, they tend to kind of revert into their opposite, right? That's kind of a yin-yang thing. So it could be that you need to take this kind of overthinking to its limit, so then you can kind of expend all of that air energy and have it move into something else, like maybe some fire. Maybe at the end of the Ten of Swords, we'll get that fire that we're looking for, that spark that is going to get all of this in motion, that's going to get this whole thing moving. So let's see about this mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. It seems like some fire would be fairly appropriate here. And we do have a Ten of Wands, so this is that fire, this is that spark that we were looking for. But there's a catch. There's a catch. Because we're going right from this Ten of Swords, breaking out of this kind of, prison, or this web of thought and analysis. And we're going straight to a Ten of Wands, right? This kind of web of this fiery energy, anxiety kind of thing again. So it's almost saying, yeah, this is the spark that you need to kind of get things going, to get out of your head and just start taking some action in the real world. But this is also running the risk of going right back to where we were last week, where there was all that fire. There was so much of it that the activity was just chaos and hectic, and there was no order, no structure to it, right? So that it was just all fire. And there was no control, there was no focus, okay? And that will just lead to some other indications of this 10, which is, fatigue, tiredness, exhaustion, and a depletion of that vital energy. So it's really going to be a balancing act to use a little bit of that fiery energy, find that spark that's going to get things rolling, but don't fall so far into that fiery energy that it becomes directionless and we're kind of right back to where we started. That's almost as bad, maybe worse, in some ways, worse than having too much of this air. Okay, it's having too much of this fire. Too much of it's the fuel for the activity, right? It's the force and fire for all of the activity on the earth plane, but too much of that is going to just kind of burn everything down, right? So very interesting read for you this week. I think we have learned a lot. I think that I think it's a pretty good continuation from last week. So if you want to go watch last week's reading, that was for the 11th through 17th. And then watch this one again and see if it has a little bit of continuity for you. All right. Again, this was your weekly tarot reading on Dove and Serpent Tarot. This one is for December 18th through 24th. Now, we're going to take a little bit of a look here in the extended. You can become a member to the channel by clicking on the link down in the description box, and you do have to become a member at the Serpent level to get access to all of these extendeds. It's a great way to support the channel, and I do appreciate all of the love and support. I also do personal readings, and the details are in the description box as well. Again, thank you for letting me read for you today, and I'll see you soon.